What a do, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the Kinda Major album, Backstage Pass. Now, this is kind of a very low-key project. There's not a Wikipedia article about it, and there's just not much information. There's not much biography. There's some music websites I visit that don't have any articles about it, and the closest thing I could really find is just off of Discogs, which is kind of by Gadget, the rapper that is from Kinda Major. Kinda Major is basically like a side project of Gadget, and Kinda Major is kind of a side project by Gadget of Nine Lives with Deuce, but it's also got another cat on here named Stiville, who I think is the other person who does the instrumentation in the band. So I don't know how many members are in this band. I mean, there's really not much of any information at all about Kinda Major. When you look up Kinda Major, it just gives you other things. Like there was a point where I looked up Kinda Major and it was showing me like Kanye West and Nas and those type people. So the internet for the most part doesn't wholesomely know about this project. But Deuce is pretty low key himself, and Gadget was like one of his wingmen back in the day. He was a part of Nine Lives, so it's just interesting because this Backstage Pass album came out in like the spring of 2013. At least that's what Spotify says. Because there's so minimal information about this album, I'm just going to assume that it came out in the spring of 2013, but I don't really know for certain. And the thing about it is the fact that I don't know the singles. I tried looking up some music videos about this project on YouTube, and YouTube has hardly any information about this album either. So really, Jackal Goldkick showed me about this project a couple years ago. I'll probably post that clip about what I thought about it and what he had to say about it also at some point. But basically, the most popular song on this album was Hair Down, and that's the song that he showed me back in the day. So I wanted to check out the rest of this project just because Gadget is not really someone who's talked about a bunch on YouTube. I mean, really, I reviewed Gadget's Freaky Fly EP back in early 2021. I mean, it didn't do super terrific, but I did at least post it back in the day. So you can find that like in the Deuce playlist, or just if you look around, you can see me talking about Gadget. I'm going to put him in the title so you know how to spell his name and stuff. But yeah, just to reiterate, he's kind of a wingman of Deuce from Nine Lives, who Deuce was a member of Hollywood Undead, and he defected from the group because he had internal issues with them. Then he dropped his album Nine Lives in 2012, and then I guess like the rollout for the Nine Lives members of Deuce's group was starting to happen in 2013. Now, Truth kind of went through drug problems and then just spurred out of control and then just quit doing rap music. But Gadget was the next one that I think replaced Truth. And it's pretty cool that he had like a band to manage to put out an album because I had no clue about it. That just kind of happens to be a thing. But I'll go ahead and talk about the single. I'm not sure if Hair Down is the single, but I'm not sure if Hair Down is a single, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it as if it is because there's just so minimal kind of promotion about this album. And really, I don't even know if this album sold like 10,000 copies or something like that. So it's pretty interesting album. It's a 10-year-old album as far as that kind of goes. But Hair Down is basically like a pretty party-esque kind of tune, just very kind of vivid and just after hours kind of evening bop. Definitely a hop and bop kind of gem for things getting ready to get hype and that type of stuff. Has a very nice hook on here. I would say Gadget definitely learned from Deuce's playbook as far as getting some pretty ferocious hooks. He has similar hooks to Deuce, about the same valve as them, just maybe they just didn't crest wholesomely on like the rock charts. But a lot of these hooks on here sound pretty similar to Deuce, and it's just that same kind of effectual type vibe. These Nine Lives cats can do some pretty excellent hooks, so this is a nice one. And I like the beat on Hair Down. This has like I was saying, like a very evening type feel towards it. This is kind of an evening boiler to kind of get you excited and that type of stuff. Just the energy behind it. This is a ladies song. So this kind of has that extra kind of pretty dope vibe about it, just as far as getting you hyped and getting ready to go out. The thing about this album though is there's a lot of songs on this album that are the thing about this album, though, is there's a lot of songs on this album that are kind of more for getting ready to step out. This is not quite the craziest. I would say the two craziest songs on here would probably be I would say the two craziest songs on here would be Backstage Pass, the title track, and then Drink and Anthem. Those are the two ones that have the most ardent kind of craziness in terms of like a sheer kind of amidst the party. But most of these songs on here are kind of more evening, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. type vibes as far as getting excited, leaving your house, getting dressed, getting fresh, that type of stuff as far as getting ready to step out have a good time and get ready to meet up with the women and your buddies and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just that kind of integral type moments where you're excited and you can feel that tonight's going to be a good night as far as some of those contexts. And I'll go ahead and list some of those songs so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So there's 12 songs on this album, and I wound up recommending to you 8 out of 12. So I'll go ahead and recommend those 8 songs out of 12. So they would be Hair Down, Saturday Night, Drinking Anthem, Come Out and Play, Private Show, Looking for a Good Time, Kinda Major, and the title track Backstage Pass. Yeah, I feel like a very immediate highlight is Drinking Anthem. I definitely feel like if you're looking for just a rock rap kind of tune for just pounding shots and that type of stuff, like Gadget mentions a lot of like good liquors to kind of sip and that type of stuff. Just a good party tune overall. I mean, it's kind of a summer boiler, not quite the sheer LMFAO type craziness where you're amidst the pounding shots, but definitely a companion piece to the night is just as far as having a good time. It's just kind of like a companion piece more so than the actual kind of gets you through it and those kind of motions. But there's not really any sheer amidst like the craziness type numbers. I do feel like there might be one, but for the most part, this is just kind of a companion piece and an accompaniment. But it is a knock-in summer boiler. It's a good song to get tanked to, and it's just an overall nice rock rap hit. So this is kind of a rock rap anthem, kind of similar to the stuff that Deuce did on Nine Lives. I do think that Seville dude is part of this band. I don't know the rest of the members, but I'm not sure about the rest of the members, but I think it is Gadget and Seville. So as far as that kind of goes, another highlight that's just a really nice song, and this one has a pretty solid beat on here, is Private Show. This has like an oozingly kind of dope kind of beats, and it's a very suave lady song. This has a nice blurry kind of late day kind of feel. Yeah, Private Show just really feels like a hook that Deuce would do. It's just probably one of the best hooks on this album. It's just a real great song. If you're looking to just pull a chick to the side and kind of flirt a bit and just really kind of charm off her and that type of stuff, I would definitely say this is a pretty rock solid highlight. Basically one of the best songs on the album. It's one of the most popular songs on here on Spotify too, but this has that overall kind of this oozingly suave kind of display on here. It's just a real nice one. I feel like another real effectual highlight is Saturday Night. This is some evening excitement. It's a 7 p.m. get you energized song. It's just an overall nice social cut. I feel like Saturday Night just kind of has that swirling kind of energy. This is definitely kind of an excitement song as far as just giving you goosebumps and that type of stuff. Definitely one to kind of get you energized and hype and that type of stuff as far as just, you know, that tonight's going to be a good night. It's just a good one, kind of similar to Hair Down. And another song like that is Come Out and Play. This has Belay on here, a chick named Queen on here. And basically, this is the only song with features on here, but Belay from Nine Lives is also on here. So it's pretty cool to get an extra verse from Belay because he doesn't often do that stuff. It's nice to get a Belay verse, and Queen is on here. I don't know who Queen really is, but she had a pretty good verse on here. So Come Out and Play is just an overall nice, warm, kind of evening simmering kind of hit. It's very nice 7 p.m., 8 p.m. kind of outdoor energy. So this is definitely one of the more outdoor feels, whether it's just a backyard party or kind of something where you're just at like some sort of festival or just some summer affair or something like that, just kind of going out and about. This kind of has like, it's very much a rock rap hit, but it just kind of has that warm kind of simmering kind of energy about it. It's just an overall kind of party tune, but it's not really at the house as much. I kind of feel like this is kind of one where just kind of stepping out a bit and just like the summer heat and just kind of enjoying. Like, once again, this is another one for maybe where you're not full-blown shit-faced drunk, but just kind of on the verge of maybe you've had at least a drink or two, something like that, just kind of starting to feel some moments and just kind of be able to step out a bit. Yeah, Come Out and Play is one that has some of the better riffs on here. I'll also add that. Looking for a Good Time is another one with some pretty good riffs on here. It's a nice entry song, definitely one for things starting to pop off. It's just a bubbling kind of song with some mid energy on here. It's just another one that kind of feels 6, 7, 8 p.m. type stuff, even 9 p.m. It's kind of like nice, very nice hook. This kind of feels like a single almost. It's definitely the sort of stuff that like certain kind of crunkcore bands were kind of doing. Like, I would say like Broken Side, maybe a little bit of like, it's definitely like a poppier version of Hollywood Undead. I can't really think of too many folks right now, but I just would say like Broken Side, LMFAO, some of those type ones, 303, something like that. You can just kind of tell by the hook that this was trying to aim for like the charts, and it's pretty good overall one. This is one of the most commercial songs on here. This could almost be blue collar. It's kind of more edgy, but I think it's pretty much like a nice for folks that really like low key kind of music that hasn't sold like an assload of copies and isn't platinum or gold, but still wants some music for blue collar. This is a good example of one that kind of has that energy. Just the hook is really excellent. This is real kind of discrested kind of commercial song, one of the most commercial songs on here. So I definitely like that one. I would say that Kind of Major, which is kind of what Kind of Major, the song, which is named after the band. This is a real nice kind of city hopping and good dance tune. One of the few dance tunes on this album. I'm surprised. It seems like Gadget's someone who could dance a little bit, considering he's pretty good at these ladies songs. But this song just has a quick tempo and it doesn't appear like a dance tune. This is just kind of one where you're kind of city hopping and you just kind of go through some of the places, you find a good dance club. It's kind of one where you're just kind of city hopping, you find a good dance club, and then you just start dancing. But I just would have to say this would make a pretty nice house party jam too. I mean, it's more, to me, more of an outdoor kind of traverse kind of song, like a kind of more bustling kind of sense, but it does have some dance vibes to it as far as that kind of goes. So it's just interesting for that one. Yeah, Kind of Major just has like a riveting pace, and the guitar riffs on here are pretty solid too, especially later on in the verse. They just have some real nice effectualness on it. It's just a very nice, energized kind of song. And then one of the craziest songs on this album is Backstage Pass, the title track. This one's definitely a very crazy night jam. I feel like this is another outdoor cuts for out and about, that type of stuff, just walking around or maybe finding some place where there's going to be loud music and maybe a little bit of dancing. It just has a lot of fury on the song. It's just an easy party cut. It's one I would easily recommend. This is probably a good companion piece to Drink and Anthem, where I feel like both of these songs have the most crazy energy on here, but this is a pretty commercial one too. I feel like this is another kind of get you energized kind of song, kind of like come out and play, looking for a good time Saturday night and hair down. So I would definitely say Gadget does a pretty excellent job of kind of getting you hype and kind of make you want to just realize that things are getting ready to happen. So these are some good bubblers as far as being able to step out and just realize that, you know, tonight's going to be a good night. And there's just some overall great kind of not just sheer craziness kind of party jams, but also some simmering ones that just kind of have you kind of in the moment and have that excitement about it. So it's just good to kind of get that. It's just a good kind of has like some pretty sparkling kind of energy as far as that kind of goes. So it's just nice. But to talk about some of the songs I didn't enjoy, there were only 4 of those, and those songs were Where We Started, When You're My Girl, All Right, and Far From Heaven. I didn't appreciate Far From Heaven just because that one was kind of like one of the ones I didn't appreciate as much was Far From Heaven, which kind of had some religious undertones. It was just a little bit more kind of introspective and kind of like philosophical than what I would have wanted. I just didn't appreciate that one as much. It was kind, I mean, I like the fact that it was ruminating, but it just didn't quite stack up as much for me. All Right was kind of like an off-putting kind of this more kind of floaty and just kind of awkward kind of tune on here. I mean, there's kind of some awkward ones. I didn't like When You're My Girl that much. I mean, I kind of like somewhat the production changes up on the song, but I just kind of felt like the lyrics were kind of downplaying the concept of having women around. And this was kind of one that was kind of more complaining about the concepts of having like women around and that type of stuff. I mean, it's a real song. I will say it's a real song that just kind of says some of the stuff that you have to deal with having abundance of women, but I just kind of feel like the concept behind it is just kind of odd that that was the display behind it. Because when it talks about when you're my girl, I mean, that's what, I mean, it's actually displaying what happens when a girl is your girl and that type of stuff. Just kind of the responsibilities and undertakings of such a thing. So it's kind of, I could have almost said it was an almost song, but I just didn't quite vibe with it as much. I kind of feel like, then Where We Started was just kind of like a more kind of optimistic and kind of peppy kind of song. And it's not like I have problems with optimism in that sense, but this was kind of more like unctuous in a way that I just didn't care for as much. Just kind of the concept of this being in a different kind of vibe. I mean, I will say that Gadget does have some pep on this album that I do like when he's kind of more of an ousting and kind of stepping out kind of vibe. But some of these ones, I don't know. I mean, there's some musicians that can pull off like sheer kind of giddiness and optimism, and I just didn't see the concept of some of these songs that Gadget was trying to do with Kind of Major as far as doing that. And plus, some of the kind of awkward productions on some of those songs that I didn't enjoy didn't help as much. But it's not to say this album, because of those 4 songs, is bad. I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10 because there's a lot of good power on here, lots of good excitement. This album easily got me excited, easily got me pumped and wanting to go out and just have some good times and that type of stuff. So doesn't have a ton of dance, or doesn't have a lot of dance songs, but it does have a lot of craziness just in terms of stepping out and kind of city hopping and getting some drinks in your system and some ladies going on and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just a good kind of out and about, just more in an outdoor kind of feeling. This is not really house party music, and it's not really nightclub music either. I couldn't really find any nightclub kind of songs. It's just more kind of being amidst the city and just kind of being more amidst the city and kind of weaving through the city buildings and just stepping out in a more kind of flashy kind of just city traverse kind of feel towards it. So it's kind of just like an outgoing kind of one, but it's just not for nightclubs and VIP and dance clubs and raves and that type of stuff. It just kind of has like some rock energy where you're just kind of meeting more people in an outdoor kind of local sense. That's pretty good for that. So it gets to 9 out of 10. The social score, I'll go ahead and give like an 8 out of 10 because I do feel like the Hair Down single is pretty excellent. It does have some jams on here, but this album is very low key. Like I said, it's difficult. I think when you look up the Kind of Major group, it just doesn't have an overabundance of stuff to really find about them. So it's just kind of, you have to know Deuce and Gadget and Nine Lives and some of that stuff to even really know about it, because even Spotify does not realize that Belay drops a verse on here. It just says lay. So it doesn't even realize that Belay is kind of a musician on here. So it's just kind of the concept. It's just very low key. I'm not sure how many CDs of this project were manufactured, but I do think Hair Down was at least a single, but the information is just so minimal. The information about this project is just so minimal that it's just kind of, I mean, I definitely think you should invest in this if you can find the information about it. Just have Spotify set up, find some stuff, get this CD, purchase it, and you'd be good. Because there are songs like Private Show, Looking for a Good Time, Backstage Pass, the title track, Come Out and Play with Belay and Queen, Hair Down's a great single, and just songs like that. Just overall, the Drinking Anthem, there's just some great ones that kind of over half the album and pretty much almost 3/4 of the album are chock full of this good social kind of get you excited, kind of stepping out kind of moments. So this is kind of a good thing. So in terms of the future, like Gadget's been kind of quiet. Apparently, I looked on Spotify and he at least dropped a single in 2023, but I just would have to say it's interesting that he dropped an album, because I was going to review an album. It was called the Kind of Major compilation, but I was going to review at some point like the Kind of Major compilation, which was kind of a Gadget solo album. But I think that's basically just the songs comprised of this project. So maybe I don't have to do that. There's a couple bonus songs that might be on there. So we'll see what happens with it. But I don't know how many other projects Gadget really has, but this is definitely a pretty excellent one. And definitely don't overlook this when you see it and just think that it's not a hit.